Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, not cannabis. Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Yeah, welcome back, Tokers and Tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. Radical Russ here. Rolla J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon, where we voted to legalize marijuana. We're very, very happy about that. Interesting story in the Oregonian today about whether or not prosecutors will keep moving forward on current and future marijuana charges leading up to July 1st. There was some confusion among people not knowing when do we actually become legal here in Oregon, and it doesn't go into effect immediately. In fact, it doesn't go into effect until July 1st, 2015. That is to give the regulators time to work through all the kinks and figure out how the regulations are going to go and so forth. But that leaves us between now and July, right? We're talking about 8 months of time where people could get caught possessing marijuana, growing marijuana, buying, selling marijuana. What are prosecutors going to do now that those things are going to be legal? In Washington state, they ended up dropping a whole bunch of charges. People that were already charged, they just dropped the charges. So I'll have yet to see what happens as far as that in Oregon. I imagine there'll be a lot of pressure, especially up here in the rural Portland metro area, where the election, where the Measure 91 was very overwhelmingly supported in the election. This is a map that we've got here. I'm trying to bring this up on the screen for you, of the counties that were won by Governor John Kitzhaber. Now, Governor Kitzhaber, this is kind of an interesting race from a political perspective, because he's going for his fourth term, but he was mired in a lot of scandals out here in Oregon. The most recent ones were a scandal that involved his fiance. And the first scandal was it was unearthed that she was a part of a marijuana grow operation in the 90s. And that was a big old scandal. And then there was some scandal about she had gotten some special deals, and there was some sweetheart favors given to her by the government that, of course, her fiance, John Kitzhaber, was the governor of. So all sorts of things, stirring around there in this race, as well as the very, very high profile failure of Cover Oregon. Cover Oregon was our Obamacare website, to distribute money. They spent $250 million on this. $250 million on Cover Oregon, and they've now just ditched it. They've completely ditched the website, and now they just refer you to the national Obamacare site. So $250 million down the tubes. There was another $160 million wasted on some, it was like a bridge project or something. So in just about any other political atmosphere, it shaped up to be a devastating year for the governor. But he got reelected. Now, the governor, John Kitzhaber, is a Democrat. He was against Measure 91, as was the Republican. He's also a medical doctor, which makes it really weird. And yes, it's his fourth term, although in Oregon, you can only do 2 terms in a row. So he was actually a 2-term governor, and then he wasn't governor for a while, and then he won re-election, and now he's got his second term, I guess you could call it. But this map here kind of shows you the breakdown of Oregon. Those blue counties are the only counties that voted for Governor John Kitzhaber. But This county right here is Multnomah County. That's Portland, Oregon. These counties beside it still have a lot of the Portland metro area. This county down here is Lane County, which, of course, University of Oregon, college students, and Eugene, Oregon, another big population center. And then the Oregon coast is generally pretty liberal. And so that's the voting breakdown that we got in the governor's election. Now, I'm looking to try to find, here it is. This is the map for our Measure 91. Let's bring that one up if I can get the screen to return. Here we go. So this is the map for Measure 91. Notice that not only did we get the Lane County and the Multnomah County that we expected, but we even got a few more counties that Governor Kitzhaber didn't win. We won some counties that went Republican for the governor. And the other thing I like about this map, if you look at that green county in the very top left corner tip of Oregon, that's Clatsop County, Oregon. That's the county where Josh Markey is the district attorney. And his county voted for Measure 91 at a greater rate than did the state as a whole. Right below Multnomah County is Clackamas County. That is a fairly conservative suburban county. It voted for marijuana, as did Washington County, which is one of the most pot-hating counties as far as the law enforcement goes. It voted for marijuana legalization. And in fact, we got the entire Oregon coast, with the exception of that small sliver of Douglas County. That's Reedsport over there on the coast. The entire Oregon coast voted for marijuana legalization. So it once again illustrates kind of a rural versus urban divide. And when you look at those places that rejected dispensaries in California and Colorado, it was kind of the same situation.
Sir, do you think there will or should come a time for us to discuss the possibility of legalization, regulation, and control of all drugs, thereby doing away with the violent criminal market as well as a major source of funding for international terrorism? Thank you so much for your time, Mr. President.
Well, I think this is an entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Name the time and place, Mr. President. Radical Russ has been prepping for this debate full-time since 2005. The Russ Belville Show.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420radio.org.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for NORML. And I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORML.
Weeducated Talk Radio with Ruby Lexington, Nikki Fox, Steve the Caregiver, and Jeff Kaufman from Arizona, replaying Mondays at 10 Pacific on 420radio.org. 420radio.org presents the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour with Herb Thrasher and Radical Russ from Portland, Oregon. Herb Thrasher Flower Hour is 2 hours of unrestrained rock, metal, punk, and alt-country music, interviews, concert bootlegs, and sports with America's hardest-rocking marijuana activist stoner, Herb Thrasher. Live 2 hours Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific, with replays at 8 and 5 on Fridays and replays Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 420radio.org.
Oh, Jesus. Time is it? Early's up. Fuck's calling me now. Damn, dude. Hello?
Yo, Dirty, where the hell are you, man? I'm standing here waiting for you, right where you told me to meet you. Dude, it's raining, dude. I got a handful of flyers. We gotta put this shit up.
All right.
And the show's tomorrow night,
all
dude.
Right.
Are you sleeping right now?
Yeah.
Dude, man, you wanna do this rap shit or not? I mean, if you wanna make it, you gotta be playing and putting flyers up, man.
All right.
My phone's so tired.
walk. My mouth's so tired, I can't even talk. I told you before, and I'll tell you again. I'm tired of this game and all these so-called friends. I got to get out quick before I do bad shit. I'm sick of stressing out of where to get my quid. I flip my lid.
Welcome back, everybody. 10 after the hour. That's music from the Dirtball, straight out of Crook County, Oregon. Probably my favorite rapper, as a matter of fact. He's a member of the Cottonmouth Kings, but I like his solo stuff a lot. The Dirtball. Check him out. All right, welcome back. And for this segment, we're going to go off the warpath a little bit. This is a little segment I like to do, Off the Warpath, where I talk about something other than the war on drugs. And in this segment, I'd like to talk about just the general election. Because I did the Bill Press show Wednesday morning, just after the election. And the tone on the Bill Press show, if you don't know, Bill Press is a former California Democratic Party head, I think he was, who became a talk radio host, and I think he's still in Washington, D.C. And he runs the Bill Press show, which is a morning drive time progressive talk radio show. And when I called in, I had to sit on hold for a while before it was my time. And I got to listen to the show, and it was just rending of garments and gnashing of teeth, man. Democrats, progressives, liberals, whatever label you want to use, were just devastated by the 2014 general election. Lost control of the Senate, gave up even more seats in the House of Representatives, lost state legislatures and governor races and so forth. And I just want to talk a little to my progressive liberal friends. And I was full disclosure, I was a progressive talk radio host on satellite radio for a couple years. And I've rarely, if ever, voted for a Republican. I might have voted for Poppy Bush in 1988 when I was like 20. Okay, maybe. I don't even remember. But, I'm pretty lefty, right? People would generally categorize me as a lefty. I don't really like categorical labels so much because I think it's important to be focused on issues. And I've always said that I'm an issue guy, right? I'm for this and for that and against this and against that. And it just so happens that Democrats happen to be on my side on most of those issues. But I'm really an issues guy. And because of that, I want to talk to the liberals out there because I'm reminded a bit of an old something. I can't remember where they did it, but Matt Parker and Trey Stone, it was either in South Park or Team America or one of those movies. Maybe it was Team America. Had a political theory that went by the idea that Republicans are assholes and Democrats are pussies. That's just, crudely put. But the more I think about that framing, the more I agree with it. Right? Because there's lots of ways in which you could look over the past few years and see Republicans as assholes. For example, they refuse to vote on any nomination that President Obama puts before them. Ebola came to this country, and we didn't hear anything from the Surgeon General. You know why? Because we don't have a Surgeon General. Dicks and assholes. Thank you. The electric Bob's in the chat room there. But anyway, we don't have a Surgeon General. You know why? Because Obama nominated a Surgeon General, and the Republicans refused to vote on that nomination in the Senate, right? Because, in the Senate, it's all messed up because of the whole filibuster thing, and they need to get 60 votes to do anything, just like Florida. Now, the Surgeon General nominee is a little bit controversial because the Surgeon General nominee has said, if we're going to talk about public health, maybe part of the discussion should involve these random bullets that are flying all around in America, killing 10,000 people a year. If we're going to talk about public health. And of course, no, the idea that guns would be a public health topic was off the table immediately. The NRA pulled their little strings with the Republicans, and that's why we don't have a Surgeon General. I digress. My problem with Democrats is that they follow polls. They don't push polls. They don't move polls. And it's no surprise that there was such a humiliating defeat for progressive and liberals in the 2014 election because they didn't give anybody anything to vote for. Now, Republicans don't give anything to vote for either. There's a dearth of ideas on that side. but they're pretty clear and in lockstep about what they're against. And that's President Obama. Whatever he's for, we're against it. I mean, we even saw this when President Obama would take Republican ideas and bring them forth, and Republicans who had formerly supported those ideas immediately turned against him because President Obama put them out. Right? That, and in fact, Mitch McConnell, who's now the Senate Majority Leader, made it very clear that his whole agenda would be blocking anything the president would try to do. And despite that, despite all of that Republican obstruction for the past 6 years, the Obama record is pretty damn good. Once again, we've got the deficit lowering to about half. Osama bin Laden killed. Iraq done. Afghanistan wound down. Stock market through the roof. Unemployment less than half of what it was when he came in. I don't want to be a super Obama cheerleader here, but I could sit and list off tons of things to be proud of. Passing healthcare reform. And I know people make their jokes about Obamacare, but now in America, you can't be denied insurance for a pre-existing condition. Now in America, you can't be kicked off your parents' insurance until you're 26. Now in America, there are no lifetime caps on health insurance coverage. These are huge progressive wins. But in Tennessee, when they asked Allison London Grimes, a former Obama delegate, by God, if she'd ever voted for President Obama, she couldn't say that she had. The Republicans made this election all about a referendum on President Obama, and the Democrats conceded it to them. The Democrats basically said, oh, Obama who? We don't need no Obama. I ain't no Obama. No, we don't like Obama. When there was so much Obama did that is worth being proud of. I really believe if Democrats had gone out and forcefully pushed back against this framing, and if they had forcefully put the finger of blame pointed exactly where it belongs on the Republicans that were obstructing every move, the Republicans that were once again threatening to shut down government over their little temper tantrums, they could have done, well, probably a lot better in this election. But Democrats didn't give anything to vote for, and when Republicans came out and said, oh, that Obama, he's an asshole, the Democrats kind of went, asshole, yeah, we don't know the guy. Well, no wonder they won. The average person out there is not politically engaged. They see things as just a red team versus blue team. So the red team comes out and has something that they're strongly for and a game plan, you know, as wrong as it may be, in my opinion, in a lot of respects. At least they believed in something and they pushed something and they were consistent about it. Democrats are all over the map, couldn't even defend the successes of the Obama administration and refused to put forth what their agenda would be. So Democrats out there, personally, I'm kind of glad you got your ass kicked. I'm kind of glad. I think you deserved it. If you stand for nothing, you deserve to lose. And if you can't take the silver platter gift of what President Obama gave to you in the face of overwhelming obstruction and deliver that on election day, then by God, you deserve to lose. Because I know one thing is for sure. Running away from a successful president, running away from amazing progressive accomplishments like balancing the budget, like reducing the deficit, reducing unemployment, putting more people to work. Those kind of accomplishments won't win you any elections if you run away from them. Just ask President Al Gore from 2000, who, because of a little stain on a blue dress, had to run as far as he could from President Clinton. Wouldn't even have the sitting two-term successful Democratic president campaign for him in 2000 because he didn't want to be tarnished by the whole impeachment blowjob debacle. And Democrats in 2014 followed that same playbook, ran away from a successful sitting president over made-up, manufactured scandals from the GOP.
Unbelievable.
Not really, Simon. If you've been watching Democrats for any length of time, it's quite believable. Wouldn't it be nice to have a party that both had balls like the Republicans and ideas like the Democrats? Wouldn't that be nice? All right, that's enough off the warpath. When we come back, we're going to talk more about weed. Stick around. Also, Daily Toker Tunes. Chuck Diesel will be calling in. Got some good hip-hop for you.
420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children. Authorized by the Normal Women.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of The Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Groovin' Thursday, featuring rap, hip-hop, soul, and funk music. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. It's 22 after the hour and time for our Daily Toker Tunes. We go to the phone lines where we've got a caller waiting for us. Welcome to the show. You're on Toker Talk Radio. What's up?
Hey, it's Electric Bob. I just was calling in about those numbers earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Were those the voting numbers? Were those ran against national, like everyone who voted, or was that just local?
Which ones? The ones about how well we did on election night?
Yeah, because I was wondering what the, like if you took all the numbers of the population, ran those against the numbers of everyone who voted, what numbers would you get of like who?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, here's the thing is that like turnout on midterms elections were, way low. Like I was reading a post how in Texas, only 10% of the population voted. Right? It was something like 30% of the registered voters, but not everyone's registered. So you talk nationally, we really don't know what the numbers were because so few people in proportion actually vote.
Yeah, it's just scary thinking about 11 to 20% of the population is deciding on everyone, you know?
Yeah, that's the way it usually works. Thank you, Bob, for your call. Appreciate that. We got to go to our Daily Toker Tune. We got Chuck Diesel on the line. Chuck, welcome back.
How you doing, Russ?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's happy to be legal.
Oh, man, that was an awesome night. You know, at that event, it was just surreal. It was like, is this happening?
It happened, baby. Awesome. I'm glad it happened, too. Did you have fun?
I had a great time. You know, I loved, so I was looking on Oregon Live, and I was loving the pictures of the map tattoo. That was pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, I got that done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo in Fort Worth, Texas. Last time I was down there in Texas, I was talking to Sean McAllister, the head of DFW NORML, and I said, I've always had this dream, someday I'm going to get this tattoo map of the United States tattooed on my back. And he goes, dude, a tattoo artist is sponsoring our conference. He'll do it for you for free. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I got
those people are so badass in Texas.
Oh,
DFW NORML and Sean McAllister.
Oh, yeah.
They've got balls appropriately sized for Texas.
Everything's bigger in Texas, that's for sure, man. And I got to head back down to Fort Worth now because I have to get Alaska on my shoulder, Hawaii on my flank, and I guess Guam ends up in my belly button. I don't know how that works out. I'll have to figure that out.
Nice.
Let's get to our tune for the day. You got an artist for us called Murs. Tell us about him.
Murs is awesome. He's a California-based hip-hop artist. He's been around for quite a while in a bunch of different collaborations, even done stuff with like guys we've played before, like Hieroglyphics. But this track specifically is one of my favorites, and I thought it was good because, you know, where we're at, despite the legalization, all the awesome stuff, the kind of doom and gloom weather is setting in. So this is a uplifting track, and he talks about kind of finally coming into his own when he started smoking weed, and I can relate to that.
I can relate as well. This is Murs with Everything. Thanks, Chuck. Talk to you next week.
1, 2. She was only 15 in love with bad R&B. She had to have vision cause she saw the star in me. Encouraged me to write about the drama in my life. To most I seemed strange, like something wasn't right. I used to fall a victim to the lunchroom comedian. Something like an outcast, started smoking weed and then I sort of fell into my own. Kinda felt at home when behind the microphone. But on the bus ride home, that didn't mean a thing. Harassed by the thugs on the corners they would hang. I got banged on, I got beat down, carrying the golf club, walking up the street now. They respect me, they call me crazy. At least I'm not getting punked out on the daily. And when I look back, I wouldn't change a thing at all. Why you think I found this strength that I'm speaking to y'all? Your hopes and your dreams and your hate and your lies. From the old and the wise to the young as they fly, they fly, they fly. When I die, God is love and hating is Satan. Zen type patience got me sitting here waiting. On the day when it's okay to love, when black men won't pretend that they are thugs, when teachers and doctors are treated like celebrities, you can get a job even if you got a felony. Check out my melody, let's live in harmony, we in this together. No man has autonomy, no man is an island immune to the violence. This rap race is no place to raise a child in. What's wrong with smiling? What's wrong with peace? What's wrong with squashing beef before they label you deceased? Swallow your pride before you choke on your issues. I know you got family and folks that'll miss you, so don't misuse this gift you've been given. This life's but a dream, we are blessed to be living. Your hopes and your dreams and your hate and your lies. From the old and the wise to the young as they fly, they fly, they fly. When I die. And basically, man, I'm just a dude that tries to do right. You know, I try to make my tomorrows better than my yesterdays without hurting anyone else in the process. Cause if you leave the world a better place than it was when you got here, then we all win. Now there's birth and there's death, but the space in between is where the journey takes place. And you give it all meaning. It's waiting on us all, there's no need to pretend. No freedom in the feeling where you fearing the end. All good things come to it. Walk, don't run to it. Times you wanna end it all yourself, don't do it. Be original, be different. Be the one to stand up and shock this system. Your hopes and your dreams and your hate and your lies. From the old and the wise to the young as they fly, they fly, they fly. When I die, I'll take everything. In this life, I'll join everyone, 'cause all men die.
420 Radio, the activist radio station. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. Cannabis Cure TV, replaying Thursdays at 12 Pacific on 420radio.org.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. Welcome back, everyone. It is 29 after the hour. I'm sorry, 31 after the hour. I just lost 2 minutes there. I know how that happened, though. If you're looking on the screen right now, you know why. Time has dilated for me. That is a wonderful bud of some great Oregon marijuana, and joining us here in studio, we've got... Oh, I don't have a mic for you. We'll have to grab a mic over there. Either one of those is fine, if it'll reach to you. There's a good one. Yeah, we go. All right. We'll go with that mic. That is mic number 5. We got Speed Limit in the chat room, or in the studio with us. Speed Limit from the chat room.
Greetings.
Have we got you?
Legal in Oregon?
That's you. All right. You're there. We're legal.
We're legal.
It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So Speed Limit in our chat room, he is an attorney and a longtime listener and chatter on the show. And folks, you know, I like having people come into the show. I remember when we first got Bacon Dan in, he was like, he called me or something and he sent me an email. I said, if you get to Portland, come on down to the studio, come on to the show. He thought I was bullshitting.
Right.
No, come on in. I like having people in the show. It's a talk show. We should talk, man. So tell us about this bud, though, that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's from Davis Farms down in Central Oregon.
Yeah.
And they are a high-quality indoor producer, and the grower there is been doing it for a long time, and that is Sophia. It's a new strain that is developed. It's almost a pure sativa.
Mm-hmm. Just like I like it.
Yep.
And any testing on that as far as potency?
I think it was about 22 or 23 is what the test came in at, and certainly I think if you go to Instagram, you can probably see all the Davis Farm strains, and he breeds a lot of his own strains.
Right on. Yeah, I'll move some of this. You can get some more shots. Lots of sticky hairs. Beautiful trichomes there. And, you know, this is the results. You're right there by the big board, marijuana election night. What was your election night like?
Well, I was driving to Portland listening to your show on my on my cell phone, and was using the satellite to see what the national things were doing, listening to CNN, see if they were reporting. I was just anxiously awaiting for the votes to be tallied here in Oregon. Obviously, I was nervous. I think like a lot of the folks here in Oregon were, but at the end of the day, I think we were all pretty confident. And I think with the numbers that we're seeing, it bodes very well for the future of Oregon, and hopefully the regulatory process will respect the will of the voters. Yeah, I just got a email alert from the OLCC, right. And they've got an OLCC marijuana page now that they're putting together and claiming, we're going to do this Oregon's way with as much transparency and accountability as possible and so forth and so on. And, this could go the Colorado Marijuana Enforcement Division way, where they were pretty, forthcoming. Or it could go the Washington State Liquor Control Board way, where they've been accused of holding secret meetings and making backdoor deals and stuff. I don't know. I'm a transplant to Oregon for about the past 10 years, and I've heard things about the OLCC. Can you tell us more? What do you think's going to happen? Well, I'm with you. I know several people that have dealt with the OLC, people that are licensed with them for liquor licenses, and certainly it's like anything. You have to abide by the rules. You have to make sure you've operating your business in a sound way. Obviously, there's liquor liability issues that come into play that the Liquor Control Board, they don't directly get involved with, but they certainly regulate some of those things that require bars not to overserve, require training for bars not to overserve. So it's like any government regulatory agency. There's probably good, there's probably bad, and the hope is that there's a good middle ground that everybody can take where the industry isn't hampered by excess regulations, but at the same time the public safety is accounted for and measures are taken to prevent diversion into black markets and to prevent kids from having access to cannabis, which is this is the only way we can do it.
Yeah. There sometimes people will say, well, you're fighting for legalization. What are you going to do after it's legalized? You won't have a job. It's like, no. This is where the work really begins.
Right. And for me, it was more like, hey, we got states 3 and 4 now. There's still 46 states out there that we've got to flip. And the sooner
Oklahoma's
the
a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, it's going to be like a rock. But,
any guesses as to what the last state will be?
Well, I think it's either going to be your home state of Idaho.
Yay, Idaho!
Or I think I think Oklahoma. I think is starting to get a little more activism. I've seen in Oklahoma. I know they were pushing for some medical initiatives this summer that they didn't get enough signatures for. But I think it's going to be either Idaho or Wyoming. I think one of those two states will be one of the last two to catch up with reality.
Yeah, you couldn't go wrong picking the Intermountain West, Idaho, Wyoming, possibly Utah, is in there as well. Fuck Utah. But anyway, the other thing about this is, as OLCC moves forward, they got a lot of latitude as far as, and mandate as far as what they're going to control. Things like how it can be advertised, how it can be marketed, how many shops can there be, what is the priority of picking shops and the people who apply for them and so forth.
Right, exactly. Unlike some of the opponents of Measure 91 that try to make it sound like there's nothing in the measure that's going to allow the OLC to do regulations, the OLC is going to have a wide range of latitude with regard to regulations, and it sounds like they want to go around the state, talk to communities, see what some of the communities are asking for as far as regulations, which is a good thing, I think. I think we always need to be cognizant of the local communities here in Oregon. I think we really need to be cognizant of the local communities because we've seen some resistance on the medical marijuana program with regard to the new medical marijuana facilities. And what we need to do is get the counties and the localities to be reassured that these regulations are going to take care of all the things they're worried about. When you go to these county meetings, you hear things that they're legitimate concerns. Some are more legitimate than others. But we need to be cognizant of those, and the regulations need to reflect some respect for those. I mean, at the same time, we don't want to have access only limited to Portland and Eugene.
Right.
It would be nice for access to the whole state, but certainly localities under the measure have that ability to have their own initiatives to ban those. But I think it's important to recognize the localities, recognize their concerns, address their concerns. And I think if Oregon does this right, much like Colorado, 2 years from now, people are going to be able to look back and say, hey, nothing's changed. I know when I walked out on the streets Tuesday night, took a little walk through Portland. It's a nice, quiet town for a big city.
Yeah.
And, there had just been a major vote for legalization, and I walked probably 3 or 4 miles through downtown Portland and around Tuesday night. I didn't see one person out on the streets imbibing, lighting up, doing anything. It was all mellow, all casual. Certainly, I didn't see any stoned mayhem on the
freeways.
Yeah, on the 405. I didn't see anything too crazy, and I'm the slow driver coming into town, so everything they said would happen in 2 years, we'll be able to look back and say it didn't, and the way we can make sure that happens is through proper regulations.
Yeah, I think the attitude in Oregon to some extent is, geez, finally.
Yeah, it did seem almost anticlimactic, and for those of us that were here in 2012, which was kind of a sad election, but at the same time, I think everybody saw how to do it right the next time.
Right, and I think that's what Florida gets the benefit of. They got their dry run here in a midterm. Presidential election, Florida is going to be a huge, electoral prize, and now they'll know how to do medical marijuana right.
And with 58% in Florida, I think they've got some political capital to go to the legislature there in Florida and start asking them to be proactive.
Yeah. Hey, you work with us and get something you might halfway like, or we'll put something on the ballot you don't like at all.
Right, and I think we're getting to the point where candidates aren't going to be able to. I mean, in the old days, in the 80s, it was easy to bash any sort of mention of legalization. Now I don't, especially medical. I mean, when we're talking about medical marijuana or cannabis in Florida, 58% of the people want it.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for legislatures to start to continue to turn their back on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way the way the Florida campaign can go, not only having that lesson from Oregon about doing it right with the right messenger in 2016. But the other lesson from Oregon is that we went to our legislature and we showed them 91 and said, hey, legislature, you can work with us on this and we can craft it together, or we'll put it on the ballot and pass it ourselves. And our legislature went, yeah, go ahead, stoners, try.
Right. And I think a lot of people discredited the chances in a midterm election.
Yeah.
I think they kind of said, hey, it's not going to happen. But it's kind of like 2012. I think people just discounted the fact that anybody was going to legalize cannabis.
Yep.
And 2 states did. And now a 3rd state has, and a 4th state, and the District of Columbia. And as far as I can see, the dominoes are waving in the wind and waiting to collapse.
Yeah. California, Nevada, and Arizona are on the radar for 2016. On the west side, on the East Coast, we're looking at Maine and Massachusetts, and possibly legislative action in Vermont and Rhode Island. Which, I got my fingers crossed on Rhode Island. It could definitely do that.
My favorite for 2016 is Missouri. Missouri has a strong organization, and they've been at it for basically 4 years now.
Yeah.
And here's a wild card that I don't think any of us are really thinking about right now. But beyond the federal court case down in California, I think there's, and I could sense it in Congressman Blumenauer's talk when he was on your show the other night. I really think this whole thing with the Republicans gaining traction in Congress, I think this is a time to go to Congress and say, we need to act one way or the other. We need to do something with the scheduling of this. We need to work with the administrative, with the White House and with the executive branch, and we need to seriously discuss this scheduling issue. And I truly think that could happen in the next 2 years. In fact, I think in 2015 we could see some tremendous movement at the federal level, both with the Obama administration and with Congress, especially with people like Earl Blumenauer maybe reaching across the aisle to a Rand Paul and saying, let's put this together. This is in the best interest of the country to get this scheduling right. Everybody and their brother knows that cannabis has medical use that's recognized in the United States. We have 23 states that allow full plant use. We have another 10 that allow CBD use. If 33 laws don't prove medical use, I don't know what does. Let's work together as the two parties here. Let's show the country who supports medical cannabis and really supports legalization at this point. Let's show them that we can put aside our partisan issues for something that's going to benefit the country. And I think that could happen. And if that happens, 2016, we may see states legalize through their legislatures in 2016.
Yeah, and I can see some political movement toward that on the Republican side, being that, hey, if we don't take control of this issue, it will kick our ass in 2016. We got to take a break. We're here with Attorney Michael Hughes here in Oregon at Rolla J Studios, just discussing the election. Our phone number, let me get the phone number on the screen during break here. If you want to call in our last segment and you have your comments, concerns, or questions about 2014 election or moving forward to 2016, we can discuss that, because this is Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. Be right back.
Don't touch that dial. We're right back to Radical Russ in just a few minutes. Hey, does anybody really have a dial anymore? You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less.
The pistachio. Green, natural, and available without prescription in all 50 states. He's fine.
If you ain't got no chronic, don't act like you smoke that good shit. Came on back up and you ass like a piece of shit. D-Lo, Johnny, Rick, know what time it is.
It's time to get high, it's time to get high. Need to break your weed out and let the smoke fly. It's time to get high, it's time to get high. Need to break your weed out and let the smoke fly. Light it up, here we go, here we go. Light it up, roll it up, one more. Light it up, here we go, here we go. Cotton mouse in the bigger smoking up the world. Yeah, we got the bomb shit. We be having smoking, blowing dank K, we ain't bullshitting.
Welcome back, everyone. That's the Cottonmouth Kings with Time to Get High. Some of your grooving Thursday music here on 420 Radio. Sitting here with Michael Hughes, an attorney you're from Bend, right? Bend, Oregon. Beautiful area of Oregon, gotta say. We're also taking your calls here at 971-533-7111. If you got comments or questions or just want to celebrate our electoral victories with us here at 420 Radio, I want to thank everybody who made our election night coverage such a rousing success. We had easily 6,000 viewers during the night, and it was just a lot of fun to be able to be breaking some of the news. And the latest breaking news I have for y'all, we've got new numbers. Ed! Wait a minute. Wrong drum roll, Ed. I like it. Timpanis. There we go. Get the timpani roll going. There we go. With the latest election results in, 93.8% of the vote counted. Measure 91 now sitting at a record level of support, 56.2%.
Bam.
56.2. Now remember, I-502 got 55.7. And 64, Measure 64, Amendment 64 in Colorado got 55.3, and Alaska got 51.2. So we are the best, we have passed by the largest majority of any marijuana legalization, and our marijuana legalization is the most liberal. I think that says something for the future.
Yay, Oregon.
Yay, Oregon. And, I got into a discussion on Facebook with Steve Fox, who... all credit to Steve Fox because he's a mensch. He's a great guy and is able to disagree with people in a reasonable way. That's so lacking on the internet, let me tell you. And Steve Fox came to Oregon in January 2013, following in November of 2012, after Oregon had lost legalization. Marijuana Policy Project head Rob Campia sent a private memo to leaders of Oregon legalization saying, don't move forward in 2014. If you moved in 2014, it'll be a loss, and it'll be a loss just like Prop 19 in 2010, and you won't be able to get your shit together for 2016, just like California didn't for 2012, and it'll be the worst thing ever. Don't move forward in 2014. And he had some math behind it. He said, you got 47% this time, and then you'll gain 3 points because it'll be a better measure, and it'll have have money behind it, but then you'll lose 3 points for the midterm election. You'll end up at 47% again. Don't move forward in 2014. 2 months after that, because we all got that memo and pretty much went, yeah, right. 2 months after that, Steve Fox, who at the time was working for MPP, came out to help hold a town hall meeting with all of us activists to discuss whether or not we should move forward in 2014, to which we all said, no, we should move forward in 2014. And I had stood up and just made my point at that meeting, which was strike while the iron is hot. You don't, when you're in a fight and you knock the other guy down, you don't step back and wait for him to get up. you jump on his ass and go to the ground and pound, right? You don't give him a chance to get back in it. We need to strike while the iron is hot. And I think with money and support, we do better in Oregon. And so basically this week, I had reposted that stuff to say I was right.
I'm glad that Oregon went forward in 2014, and I'm much like you. To me, if we'd have waited 4 more years, well, let's do the math. That's at least another. If we waited 2 more years after this, that's another 26,000 more Oregonians who have to deal with a legal case involving cannabis.
Right.
That in and of itself is unacceptable to me, but at the same time, I understand their rationale, but we're in a fight. We're in a war, and we can't let up because Kevin Sabet's not going to let up. Josh Marquis is not going to let up. Billionaire casino owners making their money off the backs of gambling addicts aren't going to let up. So we shouldn't let up.
Absolutely. And that's, I'm glad you phrased it that way. Good framing, because that was the case in Florida where Sheldon Adelson, the casino tycoon out of Las Vegas, bankrolled. Here in Oregon, they were bankrolled by the cops and the narcotics officers. So there, at least it's just, naked greed and self-interest, right? Not necessarily hypocrisy. But in Florida, you're fighting against, the guy was pouring in $4 or $5 million to fight against sick people getting medicine, using the language that it was about addicts getting high when he's making millions on gambling junkies.
Absolutely. The adage that we hear from Kevin Sabet and others about industries that rely on the addicts, that is gambling.
Yeah. If you say, they always like to say, 20% of the drinkers are fuel 80% of the market. And if Anheuser-Busch really doesn't want you to drink responsibly because they'd go out of business. What, you think the Palms Casino wants you to gamble responsibly, to set a limit, to walk away after a certain time? Shit.
Yeah, I think they want you to only gamble $5 on the nickel slots.
Yeah, that's why they have those high roller slots. That's why they have those comp giveaways that they do all the time for the whales. I mean, come on now. The hypocrisy is stunning.
And the other important part about that is, too, he was occupied in Florida. He wasn't over in Oregon able to throw his money around. If we wait till 2016, we don't know where his money could go.
Oh, it'll end up in California.
Right.
I have no doubts about that. California is the big, it's the Waterloo. It's the Custer's Last Stand. It's the insert war metaphor here.
Right. And it also creates a pretty amazing Western bloc if it gets done.
Oh my God. Yeah. The whole West Coast locked up from the north, from the Arctic Circle to Baja California.
Absolutely.
I could drive all the way up and down I-5 and not be illegal. Oh my God. Not have to worry about any traffic stop leading to a drug dog, leading to me sitting on the side of the road watching my shit get pulled out of my car.
And that was you mentioned the traffic stops, and that's our next big issue when we're going to be able to do away with the probable cause. I think you talked about the article about the district attorneys talking about dismissing. I have one of those cases pending in Deschutes County that we were able to get continued past the election. So we're hoping, even though Deschutes County actually was barely no, we're hoping that the district attorneys down there are going to be reasonable and dismiss these cases that involve less than an ounce, because I see no reason not to at this point. And I know that Colorado and Washington district attorneys did similar things, and I think it's only fair. But the real question is, when are we going to do away with the probable cause standard? I suppose that starts July 1st, 2015, too. But at some point, there's a case in this state that allows the police the right to establish probable cause based on the odor of marijuana, even with the presence of our medical cannabis statutes.
Because it could be illegal marijuana.
Right. But now that game is over. So even if they smell some cannabis on you, I'm presuming after July 1st, but my thought would be the police departments and the district attorneys ought to be adjusting their policies now rather than being bitter losers and seeing how many people they can try to screw over before July 1st.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened in Washington State. They were cool. Clark County, they released 150, 200, something it was that they let go at that point after it passed. Yeah, that's what we hope happens for sure. And just winding things up here on Toker Talk Radio, before we get to the next hour, our next hour is Big Daddy Finks Funky Roller Rink. Coming up, Season 2, Episode 22, a Funkin' Dance Party 2. Crank it up and boost the bass, because it's going to be a lot of good funk coming up in the next hour. Also replaying at 8 p.m. Pacific time for all you late night listeners on the East Coast. Now, on the screen right now is my nudity. Well, I'm not completely nude, but this was me at the Measure 91 party. And the tattoo on my back, I told you I had a tattoo of the United States on my back that was done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo in Fort Worth, Texas. And right there is Anthony Johnson, the chief petitioner, the man behind marijuana legalization in Oregon. It's cool to say that I'm friends with all 3 people who've legalized weed in the continental U.S. That's kind of cool to say. But there's Anthony Johnson with a green Sharpie coloring in Oregon for our legalization win. Up there on the top is a signature from Peter Zuckerman, the communications director. We won! ! Right? So this not only made it up into the Oregonians coverage, Washington Post picked it up and is now running it. So, hello, America. That's my naked back. And as I like to call it, people are like, why'd you get a tattoo of the United States on your back? And I said, besides the, coloring in the states thing and how fun that is, it keeps me going to the gym. It's like, I can't really let myself go now, because every now and then I might have to whip my shirt off and have a state colored in. So, thank you to Hollywood Gym over there on Sandy Boulevard for making this slightly less embarrassing than it could be. There's one mistake on my tattoo, and this is just the lower 48, and not counting like the Florida Peninsula is a little janky here. Could have been a little better done, but really there's only one thing, and that's missing the peninsula right here in Wisconsin that makes Green Bay. How freaking ironic is that? That's just tragically ironic. I can't believe I'm missing Green Bay.
Maybe you could sneak a Packer helmet in there.
I'll have to do something to fix that. We can't not have Green Bay on my back. That's just evil and wrong in some respects. All right, we got to wind things up here. We got about a minute and a half before we go, but what brought you to Portland today, and what's coming up in the future?
Well, just was up here doing some CLE classes. As you know, I represent Angela Brown in Minnesota, the Minnesota mom charged with giving her child cannabis oil. We got a hearing coming up on December 17th. Angela's going to be appearing on The View Monday.
Oh, yes.
Whoopi is not happy about how Angela's being treated. They invited her out here, so she's going to appear on The View Monday. And other than that, we're just down in Bend helping as many people as we can. I do personal injury criminal defense, but I do a lot of work with cannabis industry people and helping them out too. And so we just spent the last year trying to figure out what 3460 says and all those regulations, and now we're spending the next year trying to figure out regulations so that all adults in Oregon can go out and have their God-given right to enjoy the greatest cannabis grown on earth here in Oregon.
I'll amen to that. It's great stuff. Thank you so much, and thank you for defending Angela. And we'll talk more about that case in the coming week, because you'll have that View appearance, and maybe we can get her on the air and talk about that as well. These CPS cases, speaking of, quick update, the Alexandria Hall case in Texas, remember the little girl? The CPS took the little girl away from her parents because they smoked pot. By all other accounts, they were great parents. Took her away because they smoked pot, gave it to a foster mom who beat the kid to death. That foster mom just got life in prison from a Texas jury today. So
sad story.
I'd rather have the little girl alive, but at least the justice system worked the way it should.
Gotta keep fighting.
We're going to make this legal so no other child has to be sacrificed to CPS. No other parent has to bury their infant just because they chose something safer than alcohol to relax with. There's so much to be unwound here for marijuana legalization, and it will continue for years to come. And we'll be here at 420radio.org to bring you coverage of it and a chance for you to voice your concerns as well. Check us out at 420radio.org. My blog is radicalruss.com. Donate if you can. We rely purely on donations and sponsors. For Michael Hughes, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.